great fiction stories. Worth getting.
I've been saving this book, okay, because I knew it was going to be good, but I wanted to really have time to enjoy it. So because it's summer, it's a little slower, and naturally everybody's saying summer reading, right? So do you have piles of books for summer reading? I do. I have piles. But this one was on the top of my list. So it's Anne Rice's second volume in Christ the Lord, The Road to Cana. I read her first one last year, and it was exceptionally well done. It was one of the most beautiful descriptions of St. Joseph I think I've ever read in any book. It just makes St. Joseph come alive. So I knew she was going to do a wonderful job on the second volume as well. I was really surprised, though, at how she can... it's an imaginative presentation of the life of Christ, but not one that is so far removed from reality, because the research that she did was incredible. I can testify to that personally, because I checked her out many times in our bookstore when she came in for stacks of books on scripture reference and background material. So she did an awful lot of very scholarly research before she worked on these books. So along with that, there is a very very readable, very enjoyable story of the life of Christ in a way that, I don't know, my imagination isn't like hers, but I'm enjoying being able to be part of that. You know, it's just, I like her presentation of Jesus. It's a beautiful presentation, and it's something that, I don't know, for me, it can bring the Gospels alive when you look at it in another perspective, and sometimes it's really hard to fill in the blanks when you're reading the Gospel, and how many times you would really like to, I don't know, kind of see the face of Jesus, or you know, his tone of voice, or the way he would respond to people, and to have somebody of this caliber write a book on the life of Christ, and to bring that to life is just so enjoyable. I mean, as far as a good summer read, those people who used to read Anne Rice's books from once upon a time might be put off and say, well, this is really too religious. This is exceptionally well written and, hard to put down. And, I have true confessions to make. I even drag it into chapel with me periodically and I'd encourage y'all to just give it a try. If you haven't read her first one, Christ the Lord out of Egypt, start with that one and follow up with the sequel. And she is going to do, I think, a part 3 to this, maybe 4, I don't know. When I asked her if she could write a life of St. Paul, she says if she lives long enough. I hope you're listening, Anne, because I would really like for you to do one on St. Paul. But her life of Christ is really going to be one of those keepers. It's a very, very good book, and I highly encourage it. And that's it. But please, get yourself a copy and enjoy your summer.
A nice list of books that I always fall back on, that are just too good just to read once. Great fiction stories. One of them is called Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. This author was a mainstream romance writer years ago, and she converted to Christianity, and after that all of her books are religious in one way or the other, but she has such a really good style of writing and very appealing. This one, believe it or not, is set in like the 1880s in I think California Gold Country, 1850. Sorry about that. And it's like the story of Hosea from the Old Testament, but transferred to that time. And it's one of the only books really that I'm sitting there reading it, enjoying it, and crying at the same time. It's just very it's a very moving story, because it is the story of Hosea, but set in the United States during the gold rush. It's a good read too. I would highly suggest this one. She also has another series that's about the early Christians, and it's a trilogy, so it's a lot more reading, but it's one of those, once you start it, boy, you have to get the next one. It's called Mark of the Lion series, and the first volume is A Voice in the Wind. The second one is An Echo in the Darkness, and Sure as the Dawn. And it's the early Christians. It starts out with the fall of Jerusalem, and it takes this one particular young Jewish girl who goes from the fall of Jerusalem and then is taken as a slave to Rome, and her conversion to Christianity. And it's just a beautiful story, and it's very well written too. It's worth getting. And also another one that I've read years ago, and I liked it so much that when it came out in a new translation, I had to get it. It's Kristen Lavransdatter by Sigrid Undset. Truth be told, you have to get a little used to the Old Norwegian that she uses, because it's Sigrid Undset is Norwegian. It was written back in, I think the copyright date is 1923, believe it or not. But it's a classic, and again, once you're into the story, it's very hard to put down. It's the story of Kristen, and she's a young girl at the beginning of the story, and it takes it all the way through to when she's an old woman, and you know the choices that she makes and the consequences of these choices. And this author and her writings were considered so Catholic that the Nazis burned all her books. So that in itself is a recommendation to pick it up and find out what's in these books that the Nazis found so dangerous to their ideology. But it's really set in old Norway, and so a lot of the phrasing and everything it takes some getting used to. But the story is timeless, because it's the story of every woman who grows up and falls in love and makes the wrong choices, and then lives with it and the consequences, and but with faith at the same time, and how through the cross, whether we make it it's our own making, or whether it's something that just happens, we grow through that. And it's like you can see, it's a big fat book, but it's, again, summertime reading. You want something that you can get into, this is it. This is a great book to get into during the summertime, as is the trilogy by Francine Rivers. And also for those of you that like fantasy, and I've got to say I'm on that list there. I love the Arthur Legends, and I've read whatever ones I can get my hands on. And the most recent one that I've read and enjoyed, again, for a summertime read, is the books put out by Mary Stewart. And y'all are probably really familiar with those. They've been around forever, but they're a great read. It's four volumes actually. The Hollow Hills, The Last Enchantment. I'm going to drop these at a certain point. Okay, and The Wicked Day. But Arthur is timeless, and it's something that it's really worth the read. Even if you've read the story of King Arthur a million times, like I have too, it's a new take on it, and it's really worth reading. And as you can see, I've got lots and lots and lots of fiction, because that's I like fiction too. But for summertime, if y'all are looking for something good, check out Francine Rivers, check out Sigrid Undset. This is available at, online or at Borders or wherever, or in our bookstores. It's a new translation, and it's a lot more readable than the older one. So give it a try. I think you'll like it.